It's a gleaming new capital situated in the middle of a jungle, an opulent city built from scratch less than 15 years ago. Where am I? The answer might surprise you. And welcome to the Travel Show, coming to you this week from the capital of Myanmar, Naypyidaw.
Now head to any major city around the world and you'll find streets choked with traffic, not to mention tourists. But this new city was only founded in 2005. And once you get over how empty it is, you also realize how different it is to Yangon or Mandalay or anywhere else in Myanmar, a country where tourism is expected to boom over the next few years.
On this week's program, I'll be exploring Naypyidaw and giving you advice on how to see the rest of Myanmar. Also on this week's Travel Show,
we're on the canals of Venice, hitching a ride with their only female gondolier. Simon's back with advice on easier visas to India and the best things to do off Iceland's Ring Road. And it's the most famous chin-strap beard in history. We're in Illinois, meeting its legions of Abraham Lincolns. For decades, its doors were closed. A repressive military junta ruled this country with an iron fist. International condemnation and strict sanctions resulted. But in 2010, elections and a new transitional government, albeit one still ruled by faces from the old regime. However, the closed borders are now slowly opening. Myanmar is becoming a much easier place to visit. Tourists are coming in record numbers to visit ancient cities like Mandalay, Bagan, and the bustling former capital Yangon. But not many expect to see this.
well, have you ever seen anything like this? This is a 20-lane highway. Yes, you heard correctly, 20 lanes outside the Parliament buildings. But there's not a soul on it.
10 years ago, this new city became the capital. It's called Naypyidaw, which means Seat of the Kings or Royal City of the Sun, but it's often dubbed a ghost city by the Western media. It's got large Las Vegas-style hotels and 24-hour electricity, a rarity in this impoverished country. But this gleaming new capital, spanning over 7,500 square kilometres, houses less than 5% of the total population, which makes it a very strange place to visit. There are a few tourist attractions here. An elephant farm particularly appealed to me. Here they teach you about the close relationship between elephants and human handlers.
Hi. Is that hello?
I helped with bath time, very tentatively.
I'm just waiting for him to blow water all over me.
Before we set off on a ride through the jungle.
Is that normal?
And then a spot of lunch.
Here you go. Ooh, hungry. It's about $5 for a plate of bananas, and then you can feed the elephants. And boy, are they hungry. Okay. I can't feed them fast enough. Here you go. Whew. It's like 3 trunks coming at me.
But no one spoke a word of English, and I kicked myself for not bringing a guide. When I'd inquired about an English-speaking guide a few days earlier, I was told they would have to bring someone in from Yangon. Tourism here is in its infancy, and everything is brand new. Another popular tourist attraction is the Santee Pagoda. It was built less than 20 years ago and modelled on Yangon's Shuigadong Pagoda, only a few metres shorter.
Okay, so before I go up to the pagoda, I have to make sure that my legs aren't on display. So don't worry if you're inappropriately dressed, because they will dress you in one of these sarong type contraptions, or kloji, I think they're called. Is that right? Kloji? Kloji.
And while the Shuigadong Pagoda is located in bustling downtown Yangon, Upper Santee is on the outskirts of Naypyidaw, and like the city itself, it gets far fewer visitors. While Naypyidaw is sparkling and new with reliable Wi-Fi access, other parts of Myanmar aren't as connected, particularly rural areas. Seemingly routine transactions and journeys could take much longer than you think. For instance, don't expect to be texting or posting all your photos online. This is a poor part of the world that's still developing. Only a small percentage of people here have access to even a landline, let alone mobile phones or the internet.
When I arrived in 2012, I had to pay $250 for my SIM card, which was cheaper than the $1,500 you had to pay a year before that. But now it's $1.50 for a SIM card. Anyone can get one. But service is patchy.
Until recent government reforms, travellers would have to change their money on the black market to get a decent exchange rate. But that's no longer the case.
It's a good idea to bring some in reserve, some US dollars. Crisp notes is still necessary because some places will ask for dollars, some higher-end restaurants, some areas that you want to get into, you have to pay in dollars. But in general, you can use chat, and those can be withdrawn in every large city and every major tourist place. If you get further off the beaten track, things get more difficult, but there are ATMs everywhere.
Hotel rooms are still quite expensive, especially in Yangon, where there aren't enough to meet demand. But when prices do eventually start to dip, that will inevitably mean more holiday makers and fewer barely discovered gems. It'll also mean this ghost city, Naypyidaw, won't be so ghostly anymore.
Well, if you're thinking of heading here to Myanmar, here's the travel show guide of things you'll have to think about before you book.
November to February is the cool season and by far the most comfortable. Avoid going between June and August. It's monsoon season, which means heavy, long periods of rain, particularly in Yangon. Be very aware of local customs. It's a religious, conservative country, so try to cover up your knees and shoulders, and public displays of affection are not really welcomed. Ethnic villages will have all their own distinct etiquette, so do your homework before you visit. It is largely a very safe and friendly country though. A smile and a few words of Burmese go a long way here, so try and be more open and less guarded than you might normally be on your travels. Finally, some people are still worried about the ethics of visiting a place with such a bad human rights record. However, the opposition politician and Nobel Peace Prize winner Aung San Suu Kyi has recommended that tourists still come, though that they should avoid using businesses that help the military and focus instead on smaller hotels and restaurants that benefit local people directly. Next up, more from our series about people that make world tourism tick. And this week, we're on the beautiful canals of Venice.
Questa è la mia gondola. Come potete vedere l'ho scelta nera e rossa perché il rosso per me nella gondola è il più bello, il più meraviglioso, il più romantico. Hello! Come in. Purtroppo sono l'unica donna gondoliera. Forse perché questo lavoro è un lavoro abbastanza fisico, è un lavoro molto faticoso e proprio per il fatto del tempo, del vento, della pioggia, del caldo, si fanno all'incirca dalle 10 alle 15 ore sopra una barca. Per fare il gondoliere ci vuole sì un po' di forza, però ci vuole soprattutto molta passione, perché non è un lavoro molto semplice. Per vogare una gondola noi utilizziamo il remo. Il remo ha una pala al di sotto dove noi spingiamo e teniamo la gondola per poter navigare dritti o specialmente nei piccoli canali per girare a destra o a sinistra. La parte più bella del mio lavoro è che sei sempre a contatto con gente differente da tutte le parti del mondo. Solitamente noi facciamo dei giri, dei tragitti che ogni posto di Venezia dove c'è un gondoliere ha il suo tragitto da fare. Una cosa spettacolare che mi fa molto piacere è quando porto dei turisti che mi fanno i complimenti, sono contenti. Qualche volta capita che vogliono proprio venire con me perché sono l'unica donna gondoliera e questo fa molto piacere. È una grandissima soddisfazione per me e tanti complimenti, le foto che vogliono fare assieme a me, è molto bello.
The Grand Canal's only female gondolier, so far. Now for your weekly travel update. Starting in Mexico, and beaches along its entire western coast were pounded by waves of up to 12 feet in height last week. Some locals in the Acapulco area have had to seek shelter, and tourists have been driven away. Restaurants have been swamped by water, and some beaches have had to close altogether. The problem's being caused by a swell in the Pacific Ocean. Bolivia has declared itself the world centre for dinosaur footprints. The government there says it's now got more than any other country in the world. It already had about 5,000 visible at the Cretaceous Park around the city of Sucre, but then landslides have recently exposed about 5,000 more. And there's a big new museum to add to your itinerary in New York. The Whitney Museum of American Art has opened its doors in the Meatpacking District. It means there's now a permanent home for its vast collection after years of relying on temporary venues. And it's massive too, with 9 floors, an education space and outdoor galleries.
Stay with us. Still to come on the travel show.
India, Iceland and Peru. Our global guru spans the world as he picks through his travel inbox.
So don't go away. The Travel Show, your essential guide wherever you're heading.
Welcome to the slice of the show that tackles your questions about getting the best out of travel. We're off to Iceland and the Philippines shortly, but first...
There's been great excitement here in London about a new direct rail link to the Mediterranean. Since the start of May, you've been able to board a high-speed train at the beautiful St Pancras station. 6.5 hours later, you arrive in Marseille. But some visitors have been asking why the same doesn't work in the opposite direction. Well, it's all to do with special security and immigration rules. Only a few stations are staffed for the process, so the train from the south of France will stop at Lille for an hour while passengers get checked. Then you reboard the train and continue.
Next, Peter Roffey lives on the Channel Island of Guernsey, but wants to visit India as he's been doing for 40 years. At first, he didn't need a visa. Then he could get one by post. But now...
It seems as if I'm going to have to apply in person. That's going to mean an expensive flight to the mainland, and on top of the cost of the visa itself, it's going to run into several £100s. Isn't there an easier or cheaper way for me to visit India?
Peter, since you contacted the travel show, the rules have changed yet again. In March, as you say, the Indian authorities decreed that anyone with a British passport had to visit a visa application centre to be fingerprinted and photographed. There are 14 of them dotted around the UK, and the closest for you is Bristol. But soon afterwards, the new rules were rescinded to allow applications by post once more, though with a warning that the process will be much slower. Now, one day it may get easier, as India is offering visas on arrivals for visitors from an increasing range of countries, but there's still no indication if and when the same courtesy might be extended to UK travellers.
Sarah Beeching is heading north.
We're looking to travel the Iceland Ring Road in June and would like any recommendations for trips off the road.
Last year, Iceland's Route 1 celebrated its 40th birthday since completion as a ring road right around this far northern Atlantic nation. Stretching more than 800 miles, the road provides a majestic artery for exploring Iceland's lunar landscapes and raw seascapes. Straying away from Route 1 is the key to a great Icelandic adventure, a whale watching tour from the far northern town of Húsavík, and in the southwest of the country, the new ice cave, and close to Reykjavik and the international airport, the remarkable Inside the Volcano tour, as featured on the travel show. Vicky Mackenzie is hoping to visit the most iconic site in Peru, but
I've heard on the grapevine that the heritage site of Machu Picchu will soon be closed off to members of the public, who will only be able to admire it from afar. Is there any truth to these rumours?
happily, no. The Inca Trail always closes each February for maintenance and for the rest of the year has a limit of 500 people, guides and porters as well as trekkers, a day. But Machu Picchu is never closed. What the authorities have done to help protect this World Heritage Site is make a few changes, making you walk around it on certain routes, and some parts are closed for excavation. In practice, Machu Picchu is an extremely important source of revenue, and it's unlikely that anything significant will happen to reduce the flow of income. Elton Hugh tweeted at BBC Travel Show to ask,
I plan to visit Manila this July, but is it safe to visit there now?
In July, the climate is usually hot and a little bit damp, but Manila is its cheery self, full of vitality and culture, from the profoundly historic Spanish colonial core of Intramuros to the frenetic markets and street life. Well, that's all for now, but if you've got a travel question, just email and I'll do my very best to find you an answer. From me, Simon Calder, the Global Guru, bye for now and see you next time.
Finally this week to the United States and a celebration of who we think is its most instantly recognizable former president. It might be the beard, the tall black hat, or maybe the unique place he carved for himself in American history. But the people of Vandalia in Illinois love their annual Abraham Lincoln Convention, when the country's top impersonators all come to town. The president first made his name here, and this year sees the 150th anniversary of his assassination.
My name is Abe Clymer, and I am Abraham Lincoln.
My name is David Wolf, and I am Abraham Lincoln.
My name is Sharon Wood, and I am Mary Todd Lincoln.
I started doing Abe Lincoln in 1962 by accident. I had a woman's club here in town, and a lady named Wilma Hassler asked me to do Lincoln, and I refused. I went home that evening, costume on the screen door, and my mother, very domineering lady but lovely, she said, "You will do that for those ladies. They're friends of mine." Well, what do? I did it. Almost everybody knows me by Abe. My real name is Lewis, but you might speak to several of my pretty good friends here in town, and they wouldn't know that.
It's pretty much my full-time job. Yeah, I'm sometimes do 100 shows, sometimes more than that.
It's a little more 1859-ish.
To be a good Abraham Lincoln, you would have to study about him, read about him, get some good, clothing, a hat. You better get a hat, or people are going to say, "Where's your hat?"
The Association of Lincoln Presenters was started by 3 or 4 Lincoln presenters who found each other.
They just wanted to get all the people that were doing Abraham Lincoln together, and what it has done, it has taught us a lot. We've learned from each other, and it's not a competition. The older Lincolns are always trying to get young guys to join our group, and we worry about it because we're having trouble getting young people to do it.
I kind of watch them and learn, you know. Even though I've been doing this for a long time, you never stop learning. So, and it's great, the camaraderie we have. We talk and joke, and you know, so it's fun.
Abraham Lincoln was from this area at one time. He came here as a state representative. This is where he really cut his political teeth. He was a pretty unaccomplished young man when he came here, but by the time he left, he had learned a lot about politics.
Oh, I think Abraham Lincoln, I can't tell you how many people say, Abraham Lincoln is my favorite president. It gets a little annoying to the point of saying, I think he's everybody's favorite president. And I think part of what's so important and impressive about the man, part of it is the time period in which he lived. And he would agree and had said he was in the right place at the right time, because he was the one who could keep the country together through the terrible Civil War, and in so doing, free the slaves that were held in captivity since the beginning of our country.
I love meeting people, the public, that is. And so that's some of my favorite things. And learning more things about Lincoln. There's some stuff I didn't even know, and I've read so many books that I learned, you know, just today.
The parade is something that I cooked up myself, and my brother and I built the 2 trailers that the Lincolns were on, and everybody likes a parade.
I thought it was very nice. I thought we had a nice turnout, and it was nice to see all the Lincolns here in our community.
All these Abraham Lincolns, it's just a wonderful thing that they do, and it was so nice to have the parade to be able to see them all.
Lincoln lookalikes reliving the past in Illinois.
Well, that's all we've got time for in this edition of the program. I hope you've enjoyed joining us on our journeys. And don't forget, if you want to follow us real time on the road, you can sign up to our social media feeds. The details are on your screen now. Coming up next week,
New Orleans. We find out why tour buses are now a common sight in some of the districts worst hit by Hurricane Katrina 10 years ago. And Addie finds out why headbanging's becoming all the rage in Botswana.
but until next time, from me, Carmen Roberts, and the rest of the travel show team here in Myanmar, it's goodbye.